Kahala Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Waha, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, the great millstone. Peace and blessings to Yoakim, pushing this word and truth and sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. This is Amathia from the GMS Dallas Count. And wanted to go into a quick video here. Lord willing, this would be edifying. This is Habakkuk 2, verse 3. It says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry." All right. And we know through prophecy, and the Lord, as he said, his word shall not come back void. And Isaiah, that's pursuing to Isaiah 55, around the 10th or 11th verse. All right. We know that around the verse 11 verse, we know that hey, this time is coming, and we are at the end. Hey, and so Lord willing, this will be edifying. I'm gonna go ahead and play this video, and this is just showing that as you see, it says we are on the path of escalation to nuclear war, nothing less. Hey, Lord willing, this will be edifying.
Inflation. Futures up 22 this morning. The heart of Bloomberg surveillance is the quality of our guests, always in every case. And as we spoke to Dr. Yardeni moments ago, we speak now to Jeffrey Sachs. To say he's economic professor at Columbia University barely describes his contribution. I want to make note that he was 10 years out front on the collapse of American education and the struggle of two Americas. But Jeff, I must digress to your take on the war in Ukraine and on the Russia you knew so well under Yeltsin. You're in the Atlantic this week, and they're equating you with Mearsheimer of Chicago as the realist out there. What should be our response to Mr. Putin with your thoughts on war and aggression after the human atrocities that are reported?
Yeah, I was attacked in the Atlantic for being on the side of peace. And I confess I'm on the side of peace. I am very worried that we are on a path of escalation to nuclear war, nothing less than that. We have essentially a war in which Russia feels that this war is at the core of its security interests. The United States insists that it will do anything to support Ukraine's defeat of Russia. Russia views this as a proxy war with the United States. And whatever one thinks about this is a path of extraordinarily dangerous escalation. And I am very fearful.
Right. You lived this with Yeltsin. You were there for Gorbachev and Yeltsin and the rest. I remember when you got off the airplane at JFK, essentially shattered over the collapse of that first experiment. Do you have a feeling that Mr. Putin is alone? Is his military in support of him?
A lot of the world is watching the events in horror, and a lot of the world doesn't like this NATO expansion, which they interpret as at the core of this. They want to see compromise between the U.S. and Russia. In vote after vote in the United Nations, basically it's been the Western countries that have been voting for sanctions and denunciations and other actions, whereas most of the world, certainly most of the world counted by population, is on the sidelines. They just view this as a horrible clash between Russia and the United States. They don't view this.
Hey, and you see how he said those sanctions, this man does not write as the things he do. And when I'm talking about the man, I'm talking about the so-called white man who, through biblical understanding, is the Esau Edom, all right? The Edomites, all right, who spawned from the basically descendants, okay, who progenitor was Esau. Okay, you had Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then Jacob's twin brother was Esau, who was the progenitor of the Edomites. And through Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, we have the 12 tribes, and then you have Esau, who descendants were the Edomites, and they have tribes as well. Now, these are who the so-called white men, and these are the Amalekites, are who the head nation of Esau, Edom, who is running the nation. All right, and as you just said, he was just going into. I'm going to read a scripture. This is keep going actually on Habakkuk 2. All right, verse 3. It says, "Behold, his soul is lifted up is not upright in him." So this man is not a just or understanding man. Okay, his soul is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. And who is the just? All right, those are the sons of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is in these times who's going to live by faith is the just of Israel, which is the elect. All right, it says, "Yea, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell and as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people." And what is he doing now? All right, they had an understanding with Russia where they would basically not pursue any countries that will go towards basically move further east towards Russia. All right, but yet they got missile defense systems up in, if I'm not mistaken, they are missile defense systems, but they do have military artillery up in Poland, and now they're trying to do what? Absorb Ukraine. All right, so they basically kind of say, if you want to say, force Russia's hand. All right, but like I say, as it just said, he want to heap up all people, all nations and people. So this man, and we know that Russia are Edomites as well. But the thing is, through prophecy, as we know it, that the whore is Babylon the Great, aka America, who ride upon the beast and that beast system and their actions, which is going into the NATO and the EU. All right, and we know that Russia is not a part of that. They are a part of what you go into when you read in Ezekiel. It goes into, like you say, that Gog and Magog, which is that bear. All right. So when you go into Ezekiel 38, all right. So this is the prophecy that we're seeing that's basically starting to be more of an uprising. Okay. But like I say, this man, his soul is not upright in him. He's trying to heap up all people. And this is going to lead to what? World War III. And it's going to be, like I say, burning with fuel and fire. Let's keep going.
As we describe it in the media, as an unprovoked attack by Russia on Ukraine. That's, anyone in the United States, they'd say, well, what else is it? But that's because the way that our media have been reporting this conflict goes back a long time. It didn't start on February 24th, 2022. In fact, the war itself started in 2014, not in 2022. And even that had antecedents. And so most of the world doesn't see it the way we describe it, but most of the world's just terrified right now, frankly, because it's unbelievable to be hearing on one side, well, we'll use nuclear weapons if we need to, and the other side saying, you can't frighten us.
Well, and Professor Sachs, I share the concern, and I'll be honest, I spent the weekend also reading articles about the U.S. coming up with counterattacks and proposals of what they would do in response to some of these attacks. It's definitely a big concern. It's also an issue as you see this sea change in the economic trajectory in Europe and beyond. And some of this does come from the energy crisis. But suddenly we're talking about inflation that we have not seen since World War II,
She go into the inflation, but as you see, he was talking about nuclear destruction, as it reads about in the prophecies. Okay, all right, and the Lord put the minds of these men, of these leaders and these rulers throughout time, in these latter times, to do what? The mind of these scientists to build these different weapons and build all these different type of nuclear capabilities to do what? Just sit in the storage room? No, the Lord is working these minds of these kings to do what? Prepare for destruction, and especially here in Babylon the Great. This is Isaiah 54, verse 16. It says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument of his work. I have created the waster to destroy, and that smith in the coals that blow off the fire. As you know, a smith back in the day to created weaponry like swords and things. You know, they blow them coals with that look kind of like a harmonica, but they would push that wind into it to make that fire hotter and hotter. All right, and these nuclear weapons, like you say, these things, if they drop, then they could the heat from it could be hotter than the sun. Would you imagine? Just imagine what that can do. All right, and this is, like you say, the waster. He have created the waster to destroy. You got to think these weapons are gonna be utilized, and they're gonna destroy. Verse 17, it says, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise up against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. Hey, and when these bombs start to be dropped, as like I say, the thermonuclear destruction, then you're going to see by way of chariots that's going to appear, because we're already seeing chariots, and you're going to see the remnant, okay, the elect is going to be delivered up out of that destruction. All right, the remnant is going to be the say that, and we know that we're going through got Jacob's trouble. All these things are finna happen hand in hand. All right, like I said, the Lord is going to speed up the times, okay, for the elect, as it reads in Matthew 24. All right, and that's what's happening right now. The Lord is speeding up these times because there will be no flesh to be saved if you don't come and deliver the elect. All right. Matter of fact, let me get that to confirm that. This is Matthew 24 and verse 21. It says, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And what happened when the world got just too out of hand? The flood came to do what? To basically have a start over, and who came back and procreated the earth? It was Noah's 3 sons. You had Noah and his wife, his 3 sons, and their 3 wives that went upon the ark, and they came back to do what? Create the seed to come back and procreate the earth again. That was the prelude of this second. All right. The second so-called second flood, which is going to be brought to you by thermonuclear destruction. All right, and it says, except those days should be shortened, there shall be no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. Because like I said, we got to get out of here, because Esau is doing too much with the food. He's doing too much with bringing about the different, like I say, with this jab that's happening. All this is finna bring about a lot of death. And the Lord is also finna bring forth with this, with the weather and these things. All right, this hurricane season is finna be terrible. All right, and that's through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And you can say Esau is basically putting in and causing these things to happen upon the earth as far as the weather. It might be manipulating it, but regardless, it's the Lord that's putting the mind if that's the case. You know what I'm saying? So we got the weather events happening. You have Esau getting ready to bring forth the charagma, which is the MOT to the B. You have in wars and rumors of wars. All these things are coming playing hand to hand through the spirit of prophecy, which is the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, referring to Revelations 19. All right.
Potentially another time of incredible distress and military intervention. How close are we to some sort of, I don't want to say hyperinflation, but persistent inflationary impulse well above target in Germany, in the Euro area, as they look to these alternative ways to suppress the peripheral region from getting out of control as they raise rates in the front end?
Well, Europe is in a very, very sharp economic downturn. The sharp decline of output and living standards also shows up as a rise of prices, but the main fact is that the European economy is getting hammered by this, by the sudden cutoff of energy, and now to make it definitive, the destruction of the Nord Stream pipeline, which I would bet was a U.S. action, perhaps U.S. and Poland This is
All right, Jeff, we
speculation.
got to stop there. That's quite a statement as well. Why do you feel
Absolutely.
that was a U.S. action? What evidence do you have of that?
Well, first of all, there's direct radar evidence that U.S. Helicopters, military helicopters that are normally based in Gdansk, were circling over this area. We also had the threats from the United States earlier in this year that one way or another, we are going to end Nord Stream. We also
And that Nord Stream pipeline leads, if I'm not mistaken, to Europe. And what that's going to cause? That's going to cause, like he just said, escalation in the prices. It's going to cause a lot of people to basically not be able to receive things or resources that they need for to get through the winter months. And it gets real cold over in the continental Europe, and that's going to cause what? It's going to cause a lot of people to death. I know to die. I know Elder Ariala like to go into that, and it's going to cause a lot of death. That's basically is so. If this, like he just said, if this was the U.S. that caused this is going to cause a lot of definitely. It's going to cause a lot of strain on Europe. You know what I'm saying? And that goes into those 10 horns starting to hate the whore. This is Revelation 17-16. It says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire." All right? And who is the whore that sit upon the beast? That is going into, as you read up in the scriptures, is going to that woman that was arrayed in the purple and scarlet and all that. That's going into the whore. That's going into Babylon the Great, aka America. So prophecy, we're seeing it is coming together. If you read on down to verse 18, if you don't get that understanding, you know what I'm saying? Not saying, if you're new and don't, try to get an understanding of what that whore is. I'm just, I'll just read 17 and 18. Revelation 17 and 18 says, "For Yahweh Shem Yahushua has put her in the hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Yahweh Shem Yahushua shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth." And if you know what city, like I say, can go into the country, you know what I'm saying, in these days, it reigns over the kings of the earth. Who reigns over the kings of the earth? Who is the head of NATO? That is America. So just to get that understanding, let's keep going here.
We have a remarkable statement by Secretary Blinken last Friday in a press conference. He says, "This is also a tremendous opportunity." It's a strange way to, it's a strange way to talk if you're worried about the piracy on international infrastructure of vital significance. So I know this runs counter to our narrative. You're not allowed to say these things in the West. But the fact of the matter is, all over the world, when I talk to people, they think the U.S. did it. And just to tell you, and by the way, even reporters on our papers that are involved tell me privately, yeah, well, of course, but it doesn't show up in our media.
Professor, I don't want to get into tit for tat about what did or did not happen with Nord Stream, because I don't have the evidence and we don't have a counterbalance to this. There is an issue, though, that's at the heart of what you're saying, which is a lack of trust in the United States, a lack of cohesion in allies in the midst of incredible political as well as economic strife. I mean, do you see the likelihood of working together at a time when there are such disparate interests and feelings of distrust?
The biggest problem is that we have major geopolitical conflict, not only U.S. and Russia, but also U.S. and China. So, and again, with a tremendous amount of provocation coming from the U.S. side as well. So we're breaking any sense of stability right now. For the moment, many in Europe are saying, well, the U.S. is our closest ally. We need to hold on. But watch what's happening politically. There's upheaval in Europe, country after country right now, we're entering a period of enormous instability, and we're unstable in the United States as well. We went through an insurrection. We're still not past that. So we're entering the most unstable geopolitical era in many decades. We're entering the first hyperinflation in more than 40 years, and we're entering the first escalation to the nuclear precipice in 60 years. 60 years exactly this month was the Cuban Missile Crisis, and this is the most dangerous moment since the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's an extraordinary overload, and we see no attempt to tamp this down, to quiet it down. Every day is about escalation. We're going to defeat the other side. We have our rights. We can stand up what we want. We have Speaker Pelosi flying to Taiwan. Right. So many provocations in the midst of huge instability.
Well, Jeffrey, we're going to have to leave it there. Jeff Sachs, thank you so much. Greatly.
He wanted to cut him off real quick because he said, hell, this is too much. All right, this is Jeremiah 50 and 29. It says, call together the archers against Babylon. All ye that bend the bow, come against it round about. Let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she has done, do unto her. For she has been proud against the Lord, against the Holy One of Israel. It says, therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off in that day, says Yahweh. And that is what's coming. All right. It says, behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Yahweh power of hosts, for the day is come, the time that I will visit thee. And this is the time that's coming. All right. And this is coming, and this is going to happen. And we have faith that believes. It says, let's get to one more verse here, verse 32, Jeremiah 50 and 32. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall rise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him. And that fire in these cities is going to happen through thermonuclear destruction, not just by Russia, but by these other countries as well, and even their allies, because we just read prior that these other nations are going to hate the whore, the ride upon the beast, and which is going into Babylon the Great. So with that, I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Waha, Rachak Radash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to Yakim pushing his word in truth and sincerity. Shalom.